Hey everybody, I'm Tom Gumbercules, the Game Master, and if you're anything like I am, when you get hooked on a new mobile game, eventually you get to a point where you just can't seem to go any further. That's kind of where I was with American Dad, but then I noticed something that the developers put in this game that actually is really friendly towards free-to-play players. And this is how you're going to get your end-game equipment without spending a ton of money. It all comes down to two buildings. That is your weapons workshop and your armor workshop. So let me explain what I'm talking about here. The weapons workshop, when you go inside, you can craft an item. And you can pick melee, ranged, or energy. Everything's going to come down to the gear that you find in tournaments, stages, and rewards. Everything is going to come down to the gear that you get as rewards for clearing stages and tournaments and invasions and everything else. So go here and check your inventory. So if you look here, I've got all these rare items up at the top, and I've got a bunch of uncommon, and then down here, I've got common items. Generally speaking, your common and uncommon items aren't going to help you at all. But here is where you can start to do a little better. So one of the things you can do with gear that you're not using is take it and disassemble it. So I've got this plasma glove here that I'm not going to use. I'm going to break it apart. It's a common weapon, and it gives me a gray shard. And notice here that I've got some other ones too. I've got green, blue, and purple shards. This is where you're going to get your high-end gear as a free-to-play player. If you go into the weapons workshop and craft an item, you can pick what you're looking for. I'm going to look for a good melee weapon. And you have the option to pick from uncommon, rare, epic, and legendary. Now, here's the part that the developers did that is really kind to free-to-play players. Your disassembly material can be combined for the next higher level of rarity. So let me say that in a different way. If you want an uncommon item, it requires the gray shards which you get from disassembling common items. So here's why this is important. Because when you get up to epic level, you're farming rare items from mimosa tournaments. You can get as many rare items as you have patience to farm. Which means, as a free-to-play player, you can take those rare items and convert them into epic items. And that's not going to cost you a dime. And eventually, when you get too many epic items that you don't have any upgrades, you'll be able to take those epic items, disassemble them, and start crafting your own legendary items. And all of this would be without spending any money. That goes for weapons and armor. I crafted an epic level melee weapon. So I'm going to go to my melee guy here and see if it's an upgrade over what he's got right now. My current power level is 52-238. This is the item that I rolled. The DPS is slightly lower, but that's not the main thing to be looking at. The critical damage and the dodge on a frontline melee warrior are great. Plus this has a chance to stun and increases his own crit by 45%. So if I equip this, I go from 55 to 5804. That was a nice little jump there, and I did that all as a free-to-play player, using things that I had found from mimosa tournaments and from stages. While we're talking about crafting items, I'm going to want to talk about the Bazooka Shark's Nest. That's the football game. So here's the things you're going to want to focus on. The first thing you're going to want to do is clear the stages. So as a free-to-play player, you really can't miss out on this. So now I've got some of these footballs here, and if you take a look, there's a market, much like there is for the Morning Mimosa tournament. And if you scroll down, you can buy rare items, and if you're doing well enough to get into the thousands, you can actually just straight up purchase legendary equipment. And I would recommend that if you can afford it. The same goes for the epic amulets. But if you need to take your time getting there, here's where you're going to do it. Notice here you can purchase the different shards that you get from disassembling. You can grind up enough purple shards that you could eventually craft your own piece of legendary gear. Assuming that you don't need any higher starred Rogers, here's the order that you're going to want to spend your footballs in, assuming you can level them up. Stay away from the Expert's chest and the Master's chest. It's not a good return on investment. The first thing I would do is, if you can afford an epic or legendary piece of gear, go with that. If you can't quite afford that, then get as high level shard as you can. If you can afford one purple shard, that's all you need. Then you can keep grinding up that one purple shard until you can craft it into the item that you want. The third thing is I would then spend the rest on any golden turds. So that's how you're going to make the most out of this football game. Get as far as you can in the stage. Every 12 hours you can watch a series of ads which will give you over 100 footballs. Which, if you're diligent about doing that as a free-to-play player, you'll be able to grind up enough footballs to get something that'll be useful to you and make this game worth your time. Even as a starting player, you can watch enough ads to get something in the market that will help you out. In my other video, I already covered how to dominate the bracket structure in the Morning Mimosa tournament, so I'm not going to talk about that. So if you look at the market here, I'm going to show you where the biggest bang for your buck is for your points. If you're just looking to get rare items that you can disassemble to craft into epic level items, then you're going to want to spend it on these 250 point ones. It's the same material whether it's 250 or 750 once you break it down. And if you look into the Expert's chest and the Master's chest here, that's not a good bang for your buck. Even if you get 6 items, 2,500 divided by 6 is more than 400. And if you look here, these pieces are only 250. It has the exact same function. So save your points, get more crafting materials by buying rare weapons. At the same time, if you've got something that you've been trying to upgrade, you can keep rolling for it till you get exactly what you want. So as long as we're talking about places that you can get materials for crafting, you're going to want to look at your invasions, because every time you complete an invasion, you get a chest as a reward. And when you clear all 10, you get a slightly higher value chest as well. You'll get mostly common and uncommon gear from that, but if you have nothing else to craft, you could slowly upgrade that way. One of the things that's not going to help you with crafting anything is your PvP. I would still recommend doing your PvP every day because it'll give you a lot of resources that you're going to need to upgrade your house, as well as energy that you're going to need to go through the crafting process. It is very energy intensive, and it will take you some time to grind up enough energy to craft those epic and legendary level items. The Friends chests are mostly resource based, but you might get some items from there as well. As a free-to-play player, you're also going to want to pay attention to the daily quests. So here, I've just completed the daily quest chest right here. You're going to want the golden turds. Yeah, look at that. I got 2 purple shards. Those are taken from disassembling an epic level item. So that's going to be used to craft legendaries. And here I got an epic level armor. So that's awesome. I probably can upgrade one of my guys with that. Let's see what kind of upgrade that armor was. I'm going to go to my warrior here and equip the new piece of armor here. Paratrooper armor. Current power level is 5841. Now he's 6049. So just from this video alone, I was able to upgrade this Roger's power level by about 5,000 points, all as a free-to-play player without spending any cash. As a free-to-play player, the Ad Watch chest is your friend. You'll get 25 golden turrets guaranteed, with a small chance of a legendary or epic item. It's worth your time to do these if you're not going to be spending any money on the game. The last thing I want to talk about is, as a free-to-play player, one of the things you're going to need is patience. And if you're spending time grinding in a game, you're going to want something that is really interesting and entertaining to listen to. One of the great things about YouTube is there are some of the greatest videos that you have never seen or even heard of waiting for you to find them. I'd like to point you in the direction of something I've been working on. Bad Production Role-Playing Gods presents Monster of the Week. It's a group of guys who have been role-playing together for the last 15 years, and we have taken character interactions and improv storytelling to its highest level. I've taken our sessions and cut them down into some of the most compact, character-driven improv storytelling that you have ever seen. If you have seen any other role-playing group and watched one of their podcasts, I guarantee you we will give those guys a run for their money. When the same group of people have been role-playing together for that long, a certain chemistry develops that you cannot find or create anywhere else. We are at the peak of our game when it comes to role-playing storytelling, and I'd invite you to check out at least episode 1. When I started this project 3 years ago, my goal was to produce the most entertaining role-play content possible. And while my layouts started out a little bit rough, our storytelling hit the ground running. So if you like the TV show Supernatural, and if you're a fan of HarmonQuest and role-playing podcasts in general, I would say follow Anime Rules for this. Give us 1 episode, but you don't have to take my word for it. I'm going to leave a link to the first episode down below. Watch that, and you'll be convinced by the end that this is as good as I'm telling you it is. And you'll be glad you did it. It is the next big thing in role-playing podcasts, and you can find it here first. Having said all of that, thanks for watching. I'm Tom Gumbercules, the Game Master. Best of luck in your American Dad item crafting endeavors, and I'll see you next time.